I've had some conversations lately that have kind of led me to this realization that sometimes people think with confidence, there is the absence of fear. And I'm here to set that record straight. As someone who has experienced a lot of life transitions, a lot of identity shifts in my like short life already, I can tell you that every time I've made one of those life transitions, fear is riding shotgun in the sidecar of my motorcycle. She is right there with me, and it doesn't mean that I don't move forward, because this is the difference, right? I move forward despite there being fear riding shotgun, right? Because I know that no matter what happens after the decision I made, I can come back to relying on myself and trusting myself in the face of that uncertainty. And that's what I feel like there's like this little discrepancy on when I've been talking to clients lately, is they think that when I'm confident, I am not fearful. And I don't think that's true. By the way, hi, my name is Mackenzie, and I help people trust themselves through the uncertainties of life. Trust themselves after they've made a decision and know that they are skilled and remember who they are, so they don't abandon themselves halfway through. So, I want to tell you a story today, and that is about my move from upstate New York to New Mexico that I did a few years ago. I had bought a house 7 years before that. I had a partner there that I still have. And we were living upstate. We weren't really loving it. We definitely weren't loving the winter up there. And we were wanting some more sun, some more like time outside. We're just not like winter sports people. So we were like wanting to find someplace else. Right. And you know, what led us to New Mexico of all places? Um, Honestly, it was intuition. We looked at a map and we kind of traced the West Coast with our finger, and we came all the way down and around, and we went, "Ooh, what about New Mexico?" And there was something about it that kind of, and I had never thought about New Mexico, if I'm being honest. So, like, least of all living in New Mexico. And it was something that we were kind of like, it hit on our intuition. And because I listen to the signs of my body and I don't try to override the signs of my body and the signs that my body's giving me, I felt it in my body. Like, ooh, hmm, this is something, right? And in that moment that intuition was happening, there was always this little voice, because there always is, because I'm a recovering people pleaser. And there was always this little voice in the back of my head that was going, "Are you, whoa, New Mexico? What's this person gonna think? What's that person gonna think?" Like all of that. And in that moment, I really had to be like, okay, we're gonna put all of that aside. We're gonna step out of that, and we're gonna come back to your intuition. We're only listening to the intuition right now. Right. So kind of inviting my mind to like allow that part to turn off, right? Because if I start thinking about other people's opinions too early, then I can talk myself out of it pretty easily, right? So in that moment, my partner and I were sitting there, we're like, oh, what about New Mexico? And so that kind of led us down this rabbit hole where we were like, wow, New Mexico is actually really cool, right? We went through YouTube and we were like, what is New Mexico like, Um, let me tell you, there wasn't a lot of information about New Mexico, which also made it a little mysterious and in a way that we were excited, by it. So we decided we were going to book a trip out here to visit, just so we could like get the idea. Basically, we booked this trip. So many things went well. Um, we had such a good time while we were here. And then we came back and we thought, okay, yes, I've lived in this house for 7 years. So I have 7 years of stuff, 7 years of stuff in the house, right? And also, like, I think this is worth it for us. So we started the process of packing up our things, getting rid of like almost over half of our items, and moving to New Mexico, right? And figuring out how to move to New Mexico. And this is the thing, that's the very cute story of the whole thing. And woven into that story, piece by piece, are moments of doubt, moments of overwhelm, moments of fear, moments of anxiety of, oh my God, what am I doing? Right? There were all these moments when fear rose up for me. And it was something that I was like needed to move with. It was this thing that there were all these moments that fear rose up for me. And I had to sit with, what is this about? Right? Because there's my own fear, and then there's other people's projections of their fear and their discomfort. So I had my own fear that would come up, my own worry, my own ways that I was thinking about why this might be wrong or why I might not be able to deal with this afterward. And there are plenty of times that I cried. There are plenty of times I was uncomfortable or nervous. And what I really needed to do in those moments was come back to what my intuition was at the beginning of this whole thing. Because I know what my intuition feels like, right? And that is another video. But it there were all of these moments that fear was with me. And then, not even to talk about other people's discomfort and their projections of fear. And all it was that I was a mirror to something that they felt was uncomfortable. I was moving from a small town, very small town, right? Where some people live there their whole entire lives. And that's fine, right? That's their life, not mine. Whatever, right? And because of that, it was uncomfortable, the idea for them, right? That they were like, I wouldn't do that. That was like one of my dad's favorite lines was, well, that's not what I would do. And I'm just like, well, doesn't have to be because it's my life, right? Um, or it's my house, or it's like my move, right? And but as a very sensitive person in the world, I have the ability to take some of that on. And I had to like really differentiate like what's theirs, what's mine. And there were all of these moments where I knew I was actively grieving moving away from this place because I had this house that I loved. I had this garden that I had built over 7 years. This was the place that my dog was a puppy, and it was the only house that she knew. And my family was nearby, all of these things. But something was calling me away from this, away into New Mexico. And I knew it. So I had to decide, was I okay staying small, staying in this space that I really loved and you know, remodeled the home and all of this stuff, right? Was I okay staying small, or did I need to have the chaos of the transition? And my gosh, it was chaos. But what I knew to be certain, and what I also love about my partner, is that we know that we can do hard things because we know that we've done hard things before. We have so many skills and we know what our skills are. Sometimes we have to remind each other, but we are very confident in what we know about ourselves and how we can move through transitions, right? This shows up a lot in travel for people, right? You've decided that you're going to go to Japan, right? True story, right? And then you get there and you're like, okay, now I got to figure this out, right? And there's a lot of new input all the time, right? And you have to rely on yourself to move through that space and know that you will figure it out. And this is all like neuroplasticity too, right? Where we have the ability as humans to rewire our brain, to help our brain like create new pathways in our brain. But when we get really comfortable with the pathways that are like deep grooves in the sand, like canyons sometimes, then sometimes we're like it's harder to create those other grooves. And the way that I talk about it is like drawing a line in wet sand. It's kind of going to fill in a little bit, but then you keep drawing, keep drawing, keep drawing. And kind of side note there. Our brains have this ability to move through a thing, shift and change, create new patterns, create new pathways for thought, for skill, for memory. That's why we are able to shift at and take like a pottery class at 84 years old. I saw a guy doing that on Instagram the other day. And I thought, how amazing is this? We get to learn and we get to shift. That doesn't mean he wasn't fearful when he went into that class, you know? But I digress. Coming all the way back, we have this ability, to we have to keep following our intuition. That's what I was going to go back to. Got it. We're here, folks. We have to keep following the intuitive nudge that led us here. And you connect with your intuition by noticing it over and over again. And this is going to be a whole nother video where we talk about the art of noticing and how you start to notice. But I think noticing is the path to self-trust. Plus, you will be able to hear your intuition better. So, all of this to say, I just want to dispel that there is something that happens when you really trust yourself and when you're really confident. Fear will not be a factor. I don't think that's true, unfortunately. And I think there's different ways that we can interact with that fear. And we'll talk about that on some other videos. But what are the questions that you're having off of this story that I'm telling you today? Let me know in the comments. Let me know like what what you want me to elaborate on further. I would love to. And know that fear does not have to stop you. It can just ride right along with you as you move through the transition. But don't let it, don't let fear make you abandon yourself halfway through the process, because fear is a necessary emotion and it doesn't have to be the thing that stops you, right? So, subscribe if you are not subscribed. I'm happy to have you here. Thank you for being here. And more videos to come. Okay. See you in the next one.